MyCayman.com. MyCayman.com.
I am so thankful for being here. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. This is several days after Thanksgiving. I did not eat a plant-based Thanksgiving dinner.
Shame on you.
So I probably have done, some push-ups, a little running and walking and stuff to kind of work that off. But I'm sure that doesn't satisfy my compadre here, Tammy Martin Riles. Tammy, how are you?
I'm doing great.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was plant-based.
Plant-based?
Yes, it was.
I'll bet that doesn't mean you ate the bark off of a tree either.
Well, it could have been.
No, but I'm sure you have had a way of making it a magnificent, tasty,
Of course.
wonderful.
You want me to tell you what I had?
Tell me what you had.
I had hazelnut cranberry ginger sausage roast.
Wait a minute, say that again, because it sounded like
hazelnut.
Dessert. That sounds like dessert.
Cranberry ginger sausage roast. That was all vegan. And it's not soy. It wasn't
made out of.
It's made out of like peas and all this other stuff.
Okay.
And I should have brought the little recipe. And I had macaroni and cheese. I had greens and
Macaroni and what?
cheese.
What kind of cheese?
Oh, I made my own cheese.
Okay,
It was
so
Brazil
you have
nut
plant-based
cheese. Brazil
Now,
nut cheese.
That's important for people to understand that there is a plant-based cheese.
Oh, there's hundreds of it out there, but you can make your own.
Okay.
You don't have to wait or go to the store to be picky. Make your own.
Okay, so
And-
you had the plant-based cheese. Go on.
And I had some greens. Of course, I didn't have no fat back and all this neck bone and stuff in it because you don't need it.
Oh, okay. What did you have in it, or did you have anything in it?
Oh, I did. I put my different herbs in it that add flavor. People forget the flavor from the earth. We're so stuck on Laurie's flavoring, which is salt and chemicals and all that other stuff, and then they might sprinkle a little stuff in there. But I ain't, I ain't mad at y'all.
Okay.
I'm about to help people get their education on. Is what I'm about to do.
Well, we keep talking about this, and we're making plans to have several events. They're going to be walking events, and we will have destination places, and those destination places will include a little farmer's market, some food expos, certainly health information, and telling people how to deal with the emergencies, disaster, and things of that sort. And I hope I don't have to wait all of that time to witness some of this miraculous plant-based cooking that you're talking about.
But you've had some.
Well, I have. It's true. But it's a funny thing. It's kind of like all other foods. You really the taste, all of that is reinforced by having it more than once.
Well, I think
More than twice.
I think we've been spoiled with eating things see, everybody thinks that, it doesn't have no taste. No, it's just that you've been eating chemicals all your life. So whenever you get something that now you still been seasoning all the stuff you eat, you don't get your stuff and just but we throw a whole bunch of chemicals on it, and then some of us I think we have a call about
Yeah, we're not going to try to complete this conversation. This is an ongoing conversation.
I know it is.
I want to point out that there's plenty of places that have good plant-based food.
Yes.
And I have been joking and talking with you about Rogers Burgers.
Yes.
And the delicious meat-based hamburgers they have. But let me say this. He also has two extremely good plant-based sandwiches, and I had both of them since I've seen you last. And I probably, were it not for the cost of the Impossible Burger, I would probably replace the Wild and Reckless meat-based burger with the Impossible Burger, but there's a $5 or so difference in the charge there. So
But then go buy it from the store. They sell them two in a package for
solutions.
$5.99.
This is what I really appreciate about
Yes.
Yes,
Clark's,
solutions. Yes.
Sprouts, they all have them. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Plant-based Thanksgiving. I'm sure that you were not the only person that did that. We have a caller. We have a very special caller, Tammy, Shirley Greer. She is a person who has family here in the Inland Empire.
Okay.
She is indirectly related to me. She is my son's mother-in-law's sister.
That's directly.
That's directly.
That ain't no indirectly.
If she were here, we would have been together for Thanksgiving.
Really?
And there was plant-based food there because she is a vegan.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, yeah. She's going to like knowing that you're here twisting my arm, trying to save my nutritional integrity.
Can't save people that don't want to be saved.
Well, that's a point. You know, it's hard to know that you're in danger if you.
You have a right to end your life quickly. So I always say to eat.
She kind of rough on me this morning.
Oh no, I'm just being truthful because, especially in the African American community, we are at the top of the list for all of the major disorders and disease. The top. Diabetes, who's at the top? African Americans. High blood pressure, African Americans. And all you got to do is follow everybody home and then look at, we all have something in common. And it is that what's called soul food. We think it's so good for us, but see, I'm here to preach the truth. I don't care if people get mad at me. They can talk about taste. They can talk about all that stuff. I know this is not the subject, but we are a creature of habit. So, you want to go have that butter.
You should have your offering cup up here because right now I would put $5 in it.
Oh, that's okay. I'll tell you what. I tell
and
people.
Before the end of the show, you could possibly have.
But this is what I tell people: keep the money, and then to go along with that myth that it costs more to eat healthy. No, it doesn't. It's just that you're not eating fast food no more, and you're not eating, and then you're not putting the meat in the in your bucket, and then when you look at your bill is actually less. And then here's the big one: you're not paying for any prescriptions. So let's ask people, how much is your prescription bill? Because I can talk to people. I just talked to a person last night. She on 8 meds. I said, oh, okay, I guess that's all free, right? What do you mean free? I said, hey, everybody want to talk to me about how expensive it is to eat healthy, but I'm asking you, how much is that bill? So it was crickets. Amen. Let the choir sing. But as long
Tammy,
as they're happy with their pills.
There's nothing common about common sense and education. The big part of education is that we have to be open to understand that the reason we need education is to find something that we don't know.
Preach.
And putting something that we don't know into that pile of things that we are so comfortable with doesn't always, it's not easy to do. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to introduce you to Shirley Greer. She is a very important person, a wonderful person to talk to. I'm hesitant to call her a victim, but she and her husband Carl lost their house in the Paradise Fire. Down to the ashes. Extremely hot fire, burned everything. I'm hesitant to call her a victim because she is so positive in her thoughts, but she certainly is also an authentic person, and she's going to share some information with us right after this break that you probably maybe heard some little bits of before, but I'll tell you what, you've not heard it with the passion and accuracy that Ms. Shirley's going to give us. We'll be right back. I'm Wallace Allen with Miss Tammy Martin Riles, who's about to make you real unsatisfied with your Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, we'll be right back.
Yes. So hi, Wallace.
I'm young, active, and in the best shape of my life. But I still know life can change in an instant. And when it does, I want to be prepared. That's why I have a healthcare plan through Covered California to cover life's unexpected moments. And having a plan that includes preventive care just makes sense. That means I don't pay extra for services like annual checkups, flu shots, and diabetes screenings. I like that.
Covered California. It's more than just healthcare. It's life care. Visit coveredca.com today. The last day to sign up is January 15th.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Empire Talks back. I'm Wallace Allen with Tammy Martin Riles. We have a very special guest, other than you. I know you guys are special. Isn't that something when we get to the big event and we tell people about our special guest and everybody there is special? We just won't get around to everyone's special message today, but we will get around to Miss Shirley. Shirley, how are you this morning?
I'm very good. But I just have to tell you, first of all, Tammy,
Yes.
you're right on, and we're going after him. We're going to fix his grave.
Okay.
You can come next time you're in town. You come down and we both jump on. Both you guys can jump on me and the rest of the world, guiding us toward the light of good nutrition. We're not
doing this for
stubborn. We're
30
just
years.
not easily facilitated in this quest.
No, it's just that you're stuck on a pattern, and that's what you've been given.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Shirley,
and that can be changed. But I
we'd
want
like
to
to
tell
get.
you,
Can we get Shirley turned up a little bit, or is that
you
my?
need to put your mic
Oh, I
on.
need to put my headset on.
You know, that'll help.
Okay, there we are. All right, that did help. That helped a lot. It helped a lot. Oh, it's so
well,
good.
I want to tell you, I describe myself as an evacuee, a survivor, and a thriver.
Evacuee, thriver, and survivor.
No, survivor comes first, and then I thrive.
Evacuee, survivor, and thriver.
Yes.
That sounds much like the person that I've been able to sit across the table from on occasion. So, Shirley, I want to just kind of quiet down, if Tammy says it's not possible. But I'm going to quiet down, and I'd like for you to tell us about your experience. Tell us what you think is important for people to know about the fact that now we had a fire that burned over 150,000 acres. Started on November 8th, still burning, though they say it's contained, which simply means it's got borders. Lost over 14,000 structures, 7,000 of those in Paradise, 85 people known dead, hundreds missing. Take over.
The number actually has increased now to 87. The only way they are able to discover bodies, there are no bodies left because the fire burned at greater than 2,000 degrees, which is higher than a crematory.
Oh,
And so they can't even bring in cadaver dogs because there's no DNA left. So they are bringing specialists in who can recognize bone fragments, and then based on proximity, they are identifying the person. But there were so many people now that are missing,
So it's up
and
to
will
87.
probably never be found. It is a horrendous blow to a community, and now we have descended on other communities. 55,000 people came off of the ridge, and it is absolutely a nightmare. But our problem started on Thursday, the 8th of November.
Right.
And that morning, my husband and I just got a slow start. We were both retired, and we got a slow start. And we noticed that there was this beautiful orange glow. We thought it was sunrise because we've only lived there since July.
Right.
So we are looking at this orange glow, but not looking outside. We hadn't raised the shades. We were still moving slow. He went to start my breakfast, and because he's the chef.
So we do have a plant-based expert that says, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Right.
So I look out and I see my neighbors throwing stuff into their car, and I think something is wrong. You know, you can see urgency in somebody's body language. So I went over to them, and as soon as I opened the door, I could smell all of this smoke. And I went over to them, and he said, "My brother's a firefighter." He said, "Get out now." So
Whoa.
we threw a few things in the car. We proceeded to go out the front exit of where we lived, the regular street, and it was blocked. Someone came by and said, "No, you've got to go out the back exit." We went out the back exit, and we went around to get to the main street, and we were sitting in front of a house that was not burning, but the truck was burning, and the 3 trees were burning, and the ground was burning. Because I would walk up to 10 miles a day, I knew there was a propane tank behind that house. And I knew what was going to happen if that propane tank blew and we were still sitting next to that house.
My goodness.
So I told Carl, we've got to turn around. I jumped out, and the one car had pulled behind us, and there were a dozen cars in front of us. I went and told them, we have got to go back the other way. And they said, "But we can't get through there." I said, "Yes, we can." Because I had walked that path daily, I knew where we could get a car and where we couldn't. We weren't supposed to have a car there, but God had revealed those paths to me ahead of time. So we drove back, and there was one boulder that I knew was going to be a problem. Don't you know that boulder was rolled out of the way? I can't tell you who rolled it out of the way. I actually don't care who rolled it out of the way.
But this was an area that you walked in every day.
Every day. So now we're on the walking path. We drove to the bike path. Of course, no cars are supposed to be on there. But the bike path I knew was wide enough because the police patrolled it when I was walking. So I knew their cars could go down. We could too. So we then got to the main highway. But the people in front of us, our neighbors, tried to go up the hill. And the CHP is yelling to them, "You can't. It's on fire. It's on fire." And they shot through there. We have not seen them. We have not heard them.
Oh, my goodness.
Carl went south, going down the hill. And I, uncharacteristically, did not argue with him. Because our neighbor's brother had said, "Go up the hill, go to Sterling City." We didn't do that, and Carl pulled the other way. So we start down the road where the road is absolutely jammed. This is a 2-lane road, 1 lane going each direction. Now there are 4 lanes of people all headed down the hill, all headed in one direction. And then there are emergency vehicles.
Explain that, Shirley. 4 lanes. How did we squeeze together? How were we managing that? We were going down the hill 4 deep in an area that's designed for at most 2 cars. There had to be some kind of cooperation. What was going on? How did we communicate at that point?
It was panic, and people were mirror to mirror, door to door. It's that tightness that you would drive into a parking spot, a narrow parking spot. That's how close the cars were driving next to each other.
Couldn't open the door.
Could not open the door. And so we just were proceeding down this, and the traffic kept getting slower and slower and slower until it stopped. But we've got fire on either side of us.
How far away is this fire on each side?
At that point, it was about 100 yards. But as we continue down the hill, this fire is encroaching closer and closer and closer.
And making it look like a hallway that you're going down.
Yes, and the other thing is that this is the Sierra foothills. So these trees are not your normal little pine trees. These trees are 80 and 90 feet tall. Ooh. That's a 4-story building, and they are on fire.
Is this fire from top to bottom? Is it from top down? How intense and close is this to you? And I'm sure it's frightening. I'm frightened thinking about it.
There are people's cars that began to melt as they went down the road. Literally melt. The fenders melted off. The headlights were just the windows. If you touch the windows were hot.
And the people were in these cars.
And so now we had the air circulating inside the car. You know how you can turn it so you just have the inside air? Mm-hmm. Because if you're getting outside air, you're getting all of the toxins and all of the smoke. Then we descend into an area where it is pitch black. the smoke now just encases us. Oh my goodness. It falls down. It is darker than midnight. Your headlights can only see one or two cars ahead of you. Now, there's a mile of cars in front of us, and we can't see those lights. You know how you can see them on the freeway? You see all the headlights as you go down. We can't see them. And it just is getting, as a Christian, this was getting more and more evil. Just the presence of oppression was present. And finally, we couldn't see any cars at all. It's just us. And God showed me a car that was in front of us.
And your cars are still moving? You guys are still moving along?
Just barely moving, Then there's a clearing, so Carl gets to speed up. And I start yelling at him, stop, 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 because there was a car that I caught a glimpse of. No lights. The car is black or navy blue. Nobody in it. It had stalled, apparently, and we would have hit it. Because one of our decisions was we weren't going to take both cars. We needed to be together because we needed to watch each other's back. Mm-hmm. Two are better than one. Ooh. So, and I'm praying and I'm texting and I'm telling family members, I covet your prayers, letting them know what's happening. And we went on, and it just, the fire got closer and closer, and now it's right on the road. The telephone poles, the utility poles are burning.
Who's your telephone service provider? Your cell phone?
My cell phone is AT&T.
I'm sure, and I haven't heard otherwise, but cell service in that kind of circumstance is a life. It's a lifeline, and I'm wondering if everybody's service stayed available during that type of potential interruption. But AT&T will give them a plus at this point.
Oh, they did. But I can tell you the worst part of it, we had one of the people that we've stayed with since we have been homeless worked at the hospital, at the Feather River Hospital. He was in a long line because the CHP were holding the traffic coming out of the parking lot. And he went up to the CHP and he said, why aren't you letting these people go? Why aren't you just letting them? They're going to burn to death in this parking lot. And the CHP told him, we don't know which way to send you. If we send you up the hill, we may be sending you to your death. If we send you down, we're waiting, but we can't get through on our radio.
Oh, my goodness.
My thing about that is if you're not connected to the right source of information, I'm talking about God. If you're connected to some God who doesn't know the answers when it comes to an emergency, you won't have help.
Oh, my goodness. And for some of us, God is faithful.
God is faithful. He is absolutely faithful, but he says, I am a jealous God. I'm your only God. I'm not sharing space with anybody else.
You were talking about going down this hill, fire on both sides, 80-foot trees on both sides on fire, like walking down a hallway and into entire darkness, where you are now not just depending on what you can see, but on what you can feel. And you were at the point where you felt the presence of another car, and if Carl had kept going, would have been an accident. Let me get you to continue this intense escape story at that point, if you will.
Well, one of the things we have
Let me get us to take this break, and when we return, Shirley, if you'll continue the story at that point, I'd appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Certainly will. Okay.
I'm young, active, and in the best shape of my life. But I still know life can change in an instant, and when it does, I want to be prepared.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
I'm young, active, and in the best shape of my life. But I still know life can change in an instant, and when it does, I want to be prepared. That's why I have a healthcare plan through Cover California, to cover life's unexpected moments. And having a plan that includes preventive care just makes sense. That means I don't pay extra for services like annual checkups, flu shots, and diabetes screenings. I like that.
Covered California. It's more than just healthcare, it's life care. Visit coveredca.com today. The last day to sign up is January 15th.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Empire Talks back. I'm Wallace Allen. We're talking to Shirley Greer, a evacuee, survivor, and thriver of the Paradise Forest Fire, the Camp Wildfire. She's taking us through her escape, a thrilling escape. I'm thrilled because she made it. I'm also thrilled because she's an amazing storyteller. She has driven with her husband, Carl, and she brings a little levity in the fact that she usually may be, as my granddaughter would call it, a side seat driver. However, she allowed Carl to take the routes that he took. As they drove through this tunnel of fire, a hallway of fire, 80-foot trees flaming on both sides, traffic, 4 lanes of traffic covering what would normally be 2, as they inchwormed their way along through what became sudden total darkness, where they could no longer see, where despite Shirley's dedication to being quiet and letting Carl handle the driving, she all of a sudden had a need to say stop, because she felt the presence of another car, an accident that would have occurred, and that's where our story takes us as Shirley takes over.
So we inch around this stalled car, and we continue down the road. We can hear, at this time, tires popping from the heat.
Uh-oh.
We can hear explosions from the propane tanks. We can see we can see roofs that are on fire, and you know at that point that house is going. We can see fires inside of homes that the roof has already been consumed, just glowing from the inside. And we see people running, they've run from their cars that have broken down or stalled. And here's another spiritual lesson. That morning, when we got in the car, Carl looked at the gas gauge. We had 3/4 of a tank of gas, because he likes to keep the gas tank full. People who were on 1/4 of a tank or on 1/8 of a tank didn't have enough fuel to make the journey. Their lanterns wouldn't light, if you take the biblical story. But we had enough gas. And I need to jump to the end on this one part.
Mm-hmm.
When we got all the way down the hill, Carl we looked at the gas gauge, and we still had 3/4 of a tank of gas. That's miracle number 2. First miracle was that boulder that was moved. This is miracle number 2. We can hear all of this. And
you started the route with 3/4 of a tank of gas.
And we ended 4 hours later with 3/4 of a tank of gas.
Okay.
We should have run out of gas.
My goodness.
But God said no, and he held our gas tank to where it needed to be, and it was just another one of those amazing miracles. So we are inching our way down this highway, and again, because I have walked this route so many days for the last 4 months.
And we're still within your walking range.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
So because I can see just little things, you see a lot more when you're walking than when you're driving.
Yes.
So I know what a house looks like and where a tree leans and all of those kinds. So I knew where we were, and I could tell Carl, Okay, we're at Wagstaff. Okay, now we're at Bill. And so I could tell him those things that if I had not been faithful in what God had been saying to me to exercise, we would not have known. And we could have turned off a road. And in fact, there were people who did turn off the road that we were on and went to tree-lined places where the tree branches hung over the street, and the fire was raining down on them, and it was the wrong decision. They lost their lives because they turned down the wrong street. So God and only God, He is absolutely amazing. When we get down further into town, we can see that this fire is consuming the entire town. Everything is on fire. Businesses are on fire. Homes are on fire. And we finally make it to a place where we're starting the true descent down into Chico. And we can see that this is an area where there's it's called the Ridge because there's a cliff on either side.
Mm-hmm.
We can see the barriers that they put up on the edges of the road, and the wood posts that the barriers are attached to are all on fire, just flaming.
Everything that we're looking and going to find safety is on fire.
And we get a little bit further, and now the barriers have fallen over. There is no barrier. We can see the fire racing up the canyon wall. It is astounding. And within probably 500 more feet, we see blue sky, a little sliver of blue sky, and we can see the huge cloud that we had been in, all that smoke that we had been in. And it was a praise God moment. We were safe. We were safe.
Praise the Lord. My goodness. I didn't need all of my chair here. I was only using the front end of it sitting on the edge.
But I want to tell you more.
Oh, please do that. And I'm glad you said that was a praise God moment, because I was wondering what you guys were saying prior to that. And I'd like for you to just, as you're going through that kind of experience, you're in that survival moment, not knowing what the next moment is going to bring. Faith is strong. Faith is a wonderful thing. What were you and Carl saying to each other as you were listening to cars around you exploding, tires exploding because of the heat, fenders melting because of the heat, people leaving their cars trying to escape the heat into the heat? What were you saying to each other?
Almost nothing. We were each deep in prayer. And we were looking at these things, and we would point occasionally, but it was almost nothing that we said. And when we got down, I was praising God, Carl was praising God, and we knew we had both been in prayer all the way down that time.
Was there a potential feeling of inviting, Josephine and I ride the freeway quite often, and sometimes on the other side of the freeway, the traffic is so stacked up that we ignore it. We don't say anything about how bad that traffic is in hopes that we don't say something that's going to make the traffic on our side get worse. Was there any kind of feeling like that as you didn't say things about what you saw around you?
No, it was really a dependence on God. I think when the three Hebrew boys were in that fiery furnace, they were not focused on who threw them in or what was happening outside of that furnace. They were focused on praising God, and Jesus joined them, and a fourth was seen in the fire. And that is really where we were. It was an intense moment, and it wasn't about, it was about what we could do to save each other and save anyone else, but it wasn't about just that looky-loo kind of explanation to each other. It was just intense.
And you knew what you were leaning on. You both were praying.
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay. And we knew that live or die. If we lived, it was because we had more work to do. If we died, it was because our work was finished.
Beautiful. You guys are something.
Wow.
Okay, as we look and see this little sliver of blue surrounded by all of this deadly smoke, toxic smoke, devilish smoke.
Yes.
What was after you said, praise the Lord, you saw that, did you use up all 3/4 of a tank of gas getting there?
No,
What?
no. We got down, all the way down into Chico, and we looked down and we still had 3/4 of a tank of gas. Several days later, we started to get low on gas, and Carl said, well, I guess that miracle's over.
Man.
But we made it all the way down. So
What kind of car are you guys driving?
It's a Toyota, and see, now, don't ask me details about the car.
It drives.
Yeah, we just
and
might as
let me
well
tell
give them a shout out. You know, a Toyota something.
It's Toyota. And the car that we took has seat warmers.
See. Well, I don't have
Well,
to
let me
ask
ask
you
her a
if
question. Let me ask you a question.
Yes, please.
Well, when you were describing the story and you were talking about how the windows were hot and the cars were melting, I was just thinking about the fact that when you said you had 3/4 of gas in your car, that, oh my God, if that gas was going to be ignited just from the pressure
From the
and the
heat, yeah.
heat.
Yeah, that possibly did happen to some. It didn't happen around us. God was just with us. That's my total explanation, is that God was with us. I believe there was spiritual warfare on that mountain, and holy angels were protecting us.
Now, were there people around you, like coming down the hill, that you saw dying or cars just going up?
God spared us from seeing that, but there were cars that behind us that didn't get down. If we had left 5 minutes later, we are convinced that we would not have made it out, because it was happening so fast.
And you would have been behind another 5 minutes worth of cars and moving at that rate. That would have been too many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But when we got down into Chico, we pulled into a Best Buy parking lot, and I got out of the car. You know, by that time, we just needed restroom facilities. We just needed facilities. So we get down there, and I look over, and I see a woman standing with a man, and they have a dog, and I know she has just come down the mountain. And I went over to her, and I said, "Are you from Paradise?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Can I give you a hug?" And she said, "Yes." Her dog jumps up with his paws on my shoulder, and she's saying, "No, get down. I'm so sorry." I said, No, your dog is scared. This is okay.
Yeah, this is
and I just petted the dog, and then I asked her if I could have prayer with her, and she said yes.
Ooh, Shirley, we're going to be back right after this short break. A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience in the midst of a devilish tirade. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen with Tammy Martin Rouse. We're talking to Shirley Greer, an evacuee, survivor, and thriver of the Paradise Fire. We'll be right back.
I'm young, active, and in the best shape of my life. But I still know life can change in an instant. And when it does, I want to be prepared. That's why I have a healthcare plan through Cover California, to cover life's unexpected moments. And having a plan that includes preventive care just makes sense. That means I don't pay extra for services like annual checkups, flu shots, and diabetes screenings. I like that.
Covered California. It's more than just healthcare, it's life care. Visit coveredca.com today. The last day to sign up is January 15th.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We're speaking to Shirley Greer, a survivor. No, an evacuee, survivor, thriver of the Camp Wildfire that burned the city of Paradise, California to the ground. She has just taken us through a story that I hope she writes down or we record or something.
Write a book.
I have been, I used up like the edge of my seat. The rest of it is cold. The end of it is hot as I've sat on it. A tremendous story of survival and faith. Shirley, you stated in your moments there that God was with you. Yes. I would suggest that you have been with God so faithfully that, God is always there. The point is that you have acknowledged his presence. You've acknowledged his presence by looking for signals, by responding and making statements that acknowledge your faith. And I just want to assure the rest of the world that God is there. All you got to do is open up your heart and allow him to speak to you. He's not trying to hide. Shirley, tell us some more. I don't even know where to start in telling you what to say. Just 1, 2, 3, go.
I have a couple of things I really want to talk about, and one of them is that sometimes when all of these catastrophic events happen, people forget some of the people who were involved. We have noticed that there are people whose homes survived. They did not burn up in the fire. This happened in the Santa Rosa fire and in the car fire. People have turned to them. These people said to me, when I tell people my house survived, they say to me, "Oh, you're okay," and turn away and won't even hear their story. But these people now have a lone house standing in a community, no neighbors, no power, no water, can't get to their house because they're still evacuated. Insurance is not covering the smoke damage that they have suffered. They have lost their jobs. They have lost so much, and we need to extend our love and courage and support to them as well, even as their house is standing.
Almost,
it's a shell.
Yeah, almost a worse situation because we all, as you state, it's easy to have empathy for people who lost everything.
Yeah.
But people who look like they haven't lost anything, and you would really have to look at it from a distance to think that, because the smoke damage alone would make anybody's house unlivable. Who wants to live in the middle of devastation? Who wants to be living in a situation that reminds them constantly of what used to be, when what used to be is such a great thing? Now, if we were leaving hell, that would be one thing, but it sounds like Paradise wasn't just the name of the city, but much of the conditions and attitude people had about being there. Shirley, I remember when we were last together, and you were moving to your house. I think you had just been there because you said July. You were really fired up about a place that I said, well, where is it? Well, I'm not sure, but it's north of Sacramento. We all Googled it, looking for it after you left.
She was in Paradise.
Yeah, she was in Paradise. She was on her way up to Paradise, and to have this happen is devastating. But as you're saying, people who look as though things are okay because they have the house are possibly worse off than the people who actually had it all burnt out.
May I interject something?
And I describe their home as a slow burn. Ours burned quickly, but theirs is burning slowly because many of them will end up filing bankruptcy. They will have to walk away from their home. It's a slow burn.
Shirley, we have Melinda with us. She is a lady involved with a pageant. She'll be our guest next week, but she has a question. She drove all the way in here to ask you.
Yeah, because, well, first of all, let me introduce Melinda Ward. She is the CEO and owner of the Universal State Pageant. And so she was actually coming here to be a guest, but wow, we've been talking about the fires. It got so hot. You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. It got hot, and we're hearing this amazing story. But yes, welcome Melinda, and she
Thank
has
you.
a comment on
Yeah,
this.
comment.
Go ahead.
And Shirley, I have to say, sorry for coming latter into your special day here on the show, but I had to go to church.
Oh, absolutely.
And let me tell you something. I went to church because the Lord blessed me for my son to say, Mom, I want to go to church with you.
All right.
So that's a blessing in itself. And I wanted to make this comment. Although their houses are still standing, and may they still have items and materialistic things in their home, their neighbors are still their neighbors. And when your neighbor loses, you lose.
That's
And
right.
so for people to try to keep that so separate as though, oh, well, you're fine. You have your house. You have your things. And I don't have mine. That's incorrect. I could only imagine the pain that everybody is feeling, because when one loses in a neighborhood or in a family, everybody has a loss.
And that's why I want to bring this up.
Please.
Because I see the pain in their eyes. I see the pain for their children. Their children are not going to return to their schoolmates. They're not going to. Their teacher may not return. There's so many losses that they are experiencing. Different, but losses nonetheless.
Amen.
And judging somebody's loss is not appropriate. So I really wanted to acknowledge those people who have gone through, and I know in Southern California, the same kind of things have happened. But we need to extend that same arm of compassion to them that we do to the ones that, it's one thing to see the person who is in tatters. It's another thing for somebody to be emotionally in tatters. It's pain, and we need to address it.
What do you what do you suggest as methods? You met a lady that you shared an experience with at a parking lot. The thing you asked to do was to hug and pray, and that certainly goes a distance. But how far do we have to go? What are some of the things we need to be concerned about doing to support the compassion that we need to show? How do we generate that? What do we do?
The country has been so taken up by these tragedies that people will fill up vans and trucks and cars, and they'll bring things to the place of devastation. We don't know what to do with all of those things that they bring, because we've had, I can't even tell you how many van loads of they filled up in our entire gym. The people who came off of the ridge only have their vehicle. You can only put so much in that vehicle because you don't even know where you're going to live. So the request for gift cards is real, because that allows the person to use those funds over time for what they need. I mean, I am
very
grateful
wise.
that somebody provided me with long johns. But there were some other things that I need. My friend here in Santa Rosa, where I am today, she left her place in her pajamas. She went directly to Target to try and find clothing because she was in her pajamas. It's difficult for us to understand how hard this is right now. Carl and I everything we own is in our car.
And for those
Everything.
of us who want to give things to people, the old thing of the shirt off your back, that's romantic and idealistic, but you've been working all day and it feels and that dead gum shirt is stinky. What we need to do is not give the shirt off our back, but Shirley, you've had some experiences in this.
Yes.
Your husband needed some pants. He's grateful, but the pants don't fit.
No. No.
We have to, as we give away things, as we try to clear our, it's not about cleaning out your closet. It's about helping someone else. So just be careful as you put things together. You can, in your excitement to help, actually insult. You can, instead of giving people something to reinforce their self-esteem, you may do something that makes them feel even worse about what's going on. So gift cards, cash, that is a good suggestion. That is something that we should do. I did notice in a news report for the Malibu fire here in Southern California, a lady, they were pointing out the acreage of gifts of supplies and things that people were bringing by, and for some reason, everybody thinks baby diapers are part of the big need in that situation. Tammy,
Yes.
no, you were.
No, I'm talking to you. I'm just reminding you of the time. I got to look at you.
Like this 3 minutes right here.
You know what I'm saying?
3 minutes.
Thank you. You just called me out. Okay. Okay, Wallace.
No, I thought you
I'm
had
always got something to say, Wallace. You're absolutely correct. We do. We need to go into the pocket. We need to bring out some money because they say cash is king, and that is true. So
I just so happened to be in Vegas during the tragedy, and they sent out a notification immediately, please stop bringing bottled waters. They had so many bottled waters, there was no way they'd be able to utilize them all.
Right.
And so they asked if they would go to the hospitals and maybe set up food there for people, bring food to them or money to them because they are going to need things a little differently. So, Shirley, that's an excellent
That happened in
suggestion.
Puerto Rico. There was water at the airport. They had no ability to get it to the people who needed it, and people were angry.
That's right.
But there are the things that are practical. I would also like to recommend.
Shirley, you've got
that people-
about a minute and a half. Please use it wisely.
All right. I would recommend that you use some of the major credit cards that people can use for gas or food or clothing, whatever they need. If you give just a Walmart card, that may not be what they need right then. There are so many things. But I want to say to your area how grateful we are for the help, for the love, for the compassion that you have extended to us on the Ridge. And we want to just want you to know that we recognize what you've done.
Shirley, you have family here. You want to say anything to them directly, indirectly?
I love you, love you, love you forever.
Okay, Shirley, you and Carl, God bless you, and may the rest of the Paradise area be able to share the great karma that you guys have been creating for yourself throughout your life. God bless you. Thank you again. We will continue to pray for you, to continue to support you in our own little way here, and thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Tammy
Thank
Martin
you.
Brown.
yes, Wallace.
Thank you. And Miss Melinda,
Yes.
we'd like to ask you to join us in the future, next week, maybe
Absolutely.
as soon as you can come in.
No, next week.
Next
It'll
week
be
is
next
fine.
week.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
tell us
ma'am.
about your pageant. Okay, guys.
Thank you.
I didn't get to talk to you real good about how
We didn't get to do hardly no talking.
how we are we expect too much too quick. They are still counting votes. We need to get rid of this election night tradition of fooling ourselves, trying to satisfy ourselves with our little goofy who won and who lost. We win as a team when we work as a team. This is Empire Talks Back. I appreciate this team. I appreciate you guys paying attention. Thank you, Miss Tammy. Miss Melinda, nice to meet you. Shirley, again, thank
Pleasure.
you so much. God bless you. Rick, thank you. We'll be back next week under two circumstances. One, the good Lord's willing, and the creek don't rise. See you then.
There's been so many things that held us down, but now it seems like things are finally coming.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Week 12 is rolling. I'm Jeff Biggs, and capping off a big Thanksgiving weekend, Week 12 Sunday in the NFL. 7 early games are going on right now, including a surprise in Philadelphia, where the Giants are shutting out the Eagles 12-0 early in the second quarter. Also, the Patriots are tied with the Jets. That's 7-7 in the second quarter. Not maybe a surprise in Cincinnati, where the Bengals are getting blown out on their home field. Not by the Saints this time, but it's the Browns, 21-0 with a pair of touchdown passes for Baker Mayfield. The Bills, with Josh Allen, who Jalen Ramsey called trash. The Bills are leading the Jags 14-7. Also, the 49ers and the Buccaneers are tied 7-7 in Tampa Bay. Before the game, the 49ers cut linebacker Reuben Foster after his arrest last night for domestic violence. The Seahawks and the Panthers, a tight one, defensive struggle in Carolina. They are tied 3-3. And the Ravens, with a punt return for a touchdown, have gone ahead of the Raiders 10-7. That's in the second quarter in start number 2 for Lamar Jackson. Coming up later, a couple of hours from now, 3 late games, including the Steelers going for 7 in a row on the road at Denver against the Broncos. And the Colts and the Dolphins, 2 5-5 teams, will go at it in Indy with Ryan Tannehill back for Miami. The Colts have won 4 in a row. Tonight, must see on NBC, the Packers and the Vikings, with Kirk Cousins and the Vikes trying to get well on their home field.
I feel like a little bit of a broken record because the question each week is, how important is this game? And the answer is, yeah, it's important. They all are. I don't really know how to give you a different answer on it. It's an important game. You need and want to come out with a win.
College football, USC is keeping head coach Clay Helton while Texas Tech has fired Cliff Kingsbury. I'm Jeff Biggs. This is